Hey guys,
Finale night.
I love finale. Like it's sad that
Finale?
it's over, but
I
like
know.
it was a good show.
It was a fantastic show. I wish there were like so many of these pieces from finale night that were like tagged into like the 500th because like finale night really minus maybe the first like half hour where it was just kind of talking and which I mean, they do that every year, but um I just wish there was more of like that in the 500, like more of the fun dancing and the redemption dances and stuff like that. So
But
it
like
just it,
even
it
in our
warmed my
messages,
heart.
because like I wrote a lot of our notes like in our text messages. That's why I was like in it. And that's and like you even wrote like now that's an opening number. It was like the first
Seriously.
half hour they talked, and then at 8:30 they really started, and that's where it was like they hit that opening number, and it was really good.
Yeah. I'm like, that's what I mean. Like that's the stuff that we were missing in the 500th that like really brought the game and brought the show and just made you smile and be excited. So that was a that was a fantastic opening number.
The only thing that okay, so you remember how like last week it bugged you with the costumes?
Yep.
This week bugged me with the costumes because opening night they wore the exact same costumes.
Is that what it was?
Yes, I went back.
You went back. I was gonna say you did mention that they looked familiar, so
The opening show for the opening number were the same costumes that they wore for the this dance number in the finale. And I was like, get new costumes.
well, maybe with like all the redemption dances and all the people being back and holidays and whatever, maybe they just didn't have time to. So they were like, we
But
still
why
have
do
these
you
doing
pick
them.
the same one as the very opening? I don't
I
get it.
don't
Like, I don't know if it was like supposed to be like a full circle moment
know.
or like bringing you
Maybe,
back to the open. I don't know, but it
maybe.
drove me nuts.
All right, well now we gotta find the producers and we gotta ask them and figure it out because yeah, maybe it was like a full circle moment. All right. So first round we started with redemption dances, which we talked a little bit about last week. And how just like cool it is that we get to do they get to do these redemption dances and have like a second shot here to do something. So I love these. They're always so much fun.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, who's the first one I have to go in? I have like
Steven.
my notes are in like two locations, so I'm going back and
Oh,
forth.
it's okay. Steven and Riley were
Riley,
up first
and they hit a
with
quick
the
step.
quick step. Yep.
Um, and their judge was Bruno who picked it. And it was and that one was to the Song of Friends.
Hmm.
Um, and it was good. I wrote though that he was very flat-footed
Yes.
and he was turned in. So like it wasn't
Yes.
his best. And
Yeah.
like we both agreed that like because he got 30s for a 30 for it, um, that we thought it should have been nines. Because like or not, no, he got
No, I
29.
have
Sorry.
29. So two tens
29.
and a nine.
Yeah. I could have gone with nines, but like he was turned
Yeah.
in flat-footed. His frame's very nice and like but like I didn't think it was perfect compared to some of his others.
Yeah, and I felt like that other arm that's like not in the moment and doing something kind of got like really floppy and wasn't really sure where it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think it was awesome. Like I definitely enjoyed it. I just think that there were elements that could have been better and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
But a good way to start the night for our redemptions.
Okay, hold on. Was that or were we talking about Joey?
Well,
No,
because
we were
Joey was
talking
up.
about Joey.
No, Joey was very flat. No, yeah, you're right. Steven, the biggest thing with Steven, like I said, was for me was that opposite arm that I just felt like that was kind
Yeah.
of a little floppy. But I think the same with Steven, the quick step was, like the feet and keeping those feet moving and staying on the balls of the toes. Like I think that's all pretty common. But yeah, no, you're right. We were talking about Joey and his cha-cha, which was next. He got
Mm-hmm.
a 30 and we totally felt like it should have been nines.
That okay, so
Um,
disregard our remarks earlier. This is where we were
some of
talking.
it.
Yeah, some of it, not all of it. Um,
Some
flat-footed and very turned in. And then we were talking
yes.
about like it didn't feel like a 30. We thought that should
Yes.
have been nines, and it wasn't fair compared to Steven. Because we
Yes.
thought
There we go.
Steven's was better than Joey's.
Yes. Absolutely.
I don't, and don't get me wrong, like you like Joey, like he was not my first choice to win.
Hey,
Sorry,
y'all can go
spoiler.
back. I called it.
You
Y'all
did.
can go back. I called it.
But and he's very gifted and like I'm not mad that he won at all.
Nope, definitely
Um,
not.
but it just wasn't, I don't know, that dance didn't do
Necessarily
it for me
30
and it didn't
worthy.
do it for you either.
Right, right. It was not
Although,
30 worthy.
yeah. And it like we just also said that it felt like we thought maybe it could have been the shoes that he was turned in.
Yep.
It just wasn't great. And
Yeah,
that it just
I
was
totally agree.
stiff.
Yeah. All right. And then moving on to Danny, who had a tango, Danny and Whitney. They got 27 for their tango.
Yeah. Um,
This is where my stiff comes in. It felt so stiff. I do love that it kept moving, though. I feel like sometimes with the tango, we get like these stop points where the movement just completely stops for whatever reason. And I loved that it was just circular and it just kept moving, and that I appreciated.
yeah. Um, I felt like his connection, it's not like his connection where I mean like his frame. His connection with Whitney
Hmm.
didn't feel,
I feel like the last couple of weeks, it really kind of was, we
yeah.
were kind of downward spiraling.
And that's where I like I wrote like because I was like the connection of like his emotion isn't there. And it just
And I totally felt that in like even his freestyle when we get to that later. Like it just,
and
yeah,
like I that emotion piece is sometimes to me, I take that more importantly than
absolutely.
even technique. Like if you have that emotion, and I feel like that's what drawed me into Steven a little bit more.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
even though like his technique or timing wasn't perfect, his passion and like you could just see his heart on the floor.
Yep.
And like that's what you just makes you love the dance and like love
Yep.
watching him, even if he's like horribly wrong. And he wasn't that bad. Like I'm just saying
In general,
you
right?
want to love him.
Hmm.
Where in this, like I was like, okay,
I think it's that
it's
football
nice, but
man. I think it's that football man exposure that I think was just really hard for him to break out of that. And and yeah, I think that's kind of where that all comes from. But, there were a couple of weeks where I was like, even maybe thinking he had the potential to win it, man. He was like rocking
I
in
did
there.
too.
And then I'm not really sure what changed. I'm not really sure what happened. I don't know if it was like after the um dedication week and having like those high scores and all of that passion and everything in there, if that was kind of the downward spiral, because it was like, wow, I can't meet that expectation ever
Hmm.
again. um and if that's kind of where that started. But yeah, so I don't know, but I mean, I thought it was good, it just felt a little stiff.
Yeah. Then we had Ilona and she had the jive again, which I was glad because like I know the first jive, like
Yeah, it was
she
a
was
rough week.
really
That was rock
upset
week.
about.
Yes.
And so like and this drive was a lot better than the last drive. It was not perfect.
Nope.
Um and it just
But so much better than the
it
first
was
time.
so much better and I felt like she redeemed herself and like
Yes.
which is what again it's that emotion that draws you in.
Yep.
Um but I she had her scores I believe were
27.
yeah, and nines across the board and
Yep.
I would agree with that. It wasn't perfect, but for like
Definitely.
the finale and for her I would agree with that scoring.
Yep. And then we ended the redemption round with Chandler and Brandon with a jive.
Yes. And that,
Definitely much better than the first time she had the jive, which was what, opening night?
yeah. It
Yeah.
wasn't opening. Yeah, I
Oh,
think it
okay. I
was
couldn't
the
remember. Was
hair
it
and
hair rock
mouth.
too?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, because I remember the costume. And this jive was
Okay.
fantastic.
Yes, it really was. I kind of felt like the middle of it could have used a little bit more content. I feel like, there was a lot in the beginning and there was a lot towards the end, but like
And I
the
think
middle,
they
and I
did that
don't know if it's
purposely
because they
because,
were tired.
well, and that was the thing. And I remember watching from like the first drive, I think Brandon tried to jam pack it all the way through. And the thing
Yes,
is that her
it was too
endurance
much.
was too much. And that's
Yep,
is she like you could tell by the end she was getting tired. And that's where it just got a little
exactly.
bit sloppy. Now, like her little bit
Right.
sloppy is like perfection for some of the other contestants.
Obviously. Right, right.
So when I say a little sloppy, take that with the grain of salt. But
For sure. For sure.
um I think that was purposeful to avoid the same
Absolutely.
situation,
Totally. Totally.
if that makes
Brandon
sense.
really he really took this season by the horns and really just was so delved into it and choreographed so beautifully. And yeah, you're exactly right. He really helped his partner by knowing what she needed in order to succeed with this jive. And even
Hmm.
though, yes, I do feel like the middle could use a little bit more, but would that little bit more have thrown her over the edge to not have the endurance to continue at the rate she was? Absolutely.
But yay, they were so good.
But yeah, they were good.
And then that was fun because then in the finale we got to see some of our past like
Contestants come back.
contestants come in.
Yeah.
And so like I yeah, I was laughing. I died for the song. Nothing, nothing. And
I
you
told you
have Anna
the
coming down.
song choices were
I
brilliant.
laughed at that one.
The song choices throughout the night were absolutely brilliant in so many silly and ridiculous ways.
It was fun to see all of them again.
Yeah.
Um, and then like
I liked how in an interview later in the night they asked her again what she took away from this, and she said, well, everything.
yeah. It's like some of this was like pure drama.
It was
And
100%.
like you and who knows what's going on with Gleb and Brooks and
Right, right.
like I don't know.
And
They're
now
on,
with
they're off, they're
Sasha and
on. Who
Jen,
knows? Is it a game? Is it not a game? I don't know.
let's get
I'm
fun with
rooting
it.
though for Sasha and Jen.
100%. Adorable.
They're the cutest.
So
Um,
cute.
but like I love the Family Matters theme song for
So
Reggie.
cute.
Like love him. He didn't dance at all, but Emma just danced around him, the whole group. I was like, I needed that in my life.
Uh-huh. Definitely. It's always, I mean, that's what I always love about finale night is I've loved in the past where they bring everybody back and it's just fun to see them all back out on the floor, to see Tori there dancing with Pasha again, and just the enjoyment that they have and that reminder of like why they did it. That love for this for the floor, and just to be back in that room again. And yeah, it's always fun.
I have to say, if there was anybody like, and I'm not like a huge Tori Spelling fan, but I feel like she probably could have done more in this competition if I had to,
Definitely.
based off like what see. Oh boy,
Yeah.
only have 10 minutes left. Okay,
I know it's because we chit chatted a lot. So
I know.
beforehand, everybody, not with you.
But yes, it was just fun to see everybody. I loved having all of them back. Dwight always makes me smile.
Always,
The lifts are
always.
crazy.
Yep. So I would say if you watch one thing from finale night, if you're just like randomly listening to us, you need to go and check out not just the dance, but you need to check out the package beforehand of Derek and Mark and like why they were dancing the Argentine tango together.
Okay, so
Um,
I've
you
known
gotta
this
check out
has
the
been
package.
coming because he
Mm,
told me on tour. So
hmm.
like I've known about this dance since the beginning of November and like talking about the two of them are doing the tango and because it's how it originally started. So like I already
Yes.
had like I knew the package before the package.
Yeah. But you should watch the package first because that it kind of explains like why they chose to do what they did. And it's really cool and totally incredible and
And like
love them.
the power. and the sharpness. Ah, mwah! Now it wasn't actually filmed though on finale night. It was filmed the week
There.
before. So there's another little tidbit for you guys. That dance was not live, FYI.
That's funny. So, all right. So then we go into freestyle round, and they've always said that in the past, if you have the best freestyle, you will win the show. And
Okay, but that's how it
I
used to
don't.
be.
It's how it used
It's
to be. I
not
don't
been
agree
like
with
that
it.
like the last five
No,
years because it used
not
to be like
anymore.
that when it was like the voting for the next day.
Right,
But
right.
in the voting of the moment, I think it hurts you where they put you on your
100%.
schedule. So
I
if you're
would,
the
yeah,
last ones to go and you have the freestyle, which is usually like back in the day, that was the best placement to be because
right,
you're in the mind of everyone.
right.
Not always
No,
the
it's not.
case because now you barely have the time for those votes. And I like it was so funny because all my students, like I've gotten them all into it.
Yeah.
They were very upset with who won because they really thought somebody else should have won.
And
And
that's
like,
and that's all fair. Now, okay, let me ask you personal opinion. Which freestyle was your favorite?
see, I'm torn on two. I'm torn on two. There were two that were my favorite.
All right, fair.
I like Stevens and I like
Fair.
Chandler's. If I had to
Fair.
pick, I probably would go with Chandler because of the tap dancing.
Fair.
Um,
You do love your tap.
I do. Tap is my thing.
Me, it's Steven. It
But
was Steven all the way.
Stevens was like it fit him, I felt like, and
Oh,
like it
it
showed
was
his
incredible.
journey and it combined his two passions. So those were the two, like, and it's very hard to like I could have gone either way. But I also recognize the importance of like what Chandler and Brandon did of the Black
Yes.
history and
Yes.
rep,
The
rep
significance of it and
representation. I can talk tonight. I'm
yeah.
just really
But
tired.
even Joey, putting his tennis love into a dance style like
Yeah.
that was pretty brilliant, and I enjoyed it a lot. I loved the light up rackets and I loved all the fun that it had. I thoroughly enjoyed Joey's too, so I don't know. Not that Alona's was fierce and dramatic and feisty and
Mhm.
like all those things that women should be, and
Yeah.
girl power to the max. So Alona's was phenomenal. Danny's was the only one that I just do not feel like that fit him at all.
It didn't fit him. And like, okay. I really struggled with it because the whole beginning of the dance was just Whitney.
Yep.
And if it was a storytelling piece or like a number that wasn't like the finale where you're supposed to be featuring your partner,
Right.
if you're looking at the storytelling, I understand why they did it, but a freestyle is supposed to be about the celebrities, so
Right.
I didn't think that was the best choice.
No, definitely not. It didn't work for me. It was the only one that I literally was just like, this is weird. I don't like this. And yeah, like I wish they had like done something, I don't know, football related. Like that's him. That would have probably been more comfortable
And
for
I
him,
feel
would
like
have given
part
him
of
better
this, the
scores.
problem is that they're trying to go based off music rights
Right,
and
right.
what they give you. And I don't know, like
Yeah, that's the only one for
I don't
me
know. And
that
I also feel
totally
like the
didn't work.
Barbie one at this point has been kind of overdone a
Yep,
little
yep,
bit.
yep.
And if you watch Strictly Come Dancing at all, they did a huge Barbie number with like all their pros, which was
Uh-huh.
amazing. And I felt like a lot of that was actually kind of based off of it a little bit, or like it wasn't the same. So it was not the same choreography. So it wasn't copied, but like influenced from it. Um, but again, like I said, that's more of a storytelling numbers versus the freestyle. So it just didn't flow for a freestyle, I felt.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah,
I okay,
they
I'm
said
gonna
like,
get negative comments here. I know it. Um, I Joey's was I liked that they did their passion. I don't necessarily agree that it was underwhelming, but it just didn't pop out as
Sure,
much to me as
that's okay.
the other two that we mentioned. Even Ilona's like stuck out to me a little bit more. Um, and I think part of it was just it was just so clean and sharp with Chandler and like the dance technique, and that's what I'm also looking at.
Hmm.
And like we already talked about, really combine the two passions and like
Right.
technical dance. It fit for Steven very, very well.
Hmm. Hmm. My thing with
Joey's was
Joey's
like it was
was, go
nice,
ahead.
but it wasn't to me, it didn't wow me.
Fair. And I didn't get that wow either, but what I loved about it was bringing something to the floor that has never been seen before and
And
having the
I can
rackets in there
appreciate that.
and having a prop is always dangerous, but having a prop that is moving beautifully with other dancers in multiple ways is tricky and is
And they
hard to
nailed
do.
that.
And they nailed it. And that's for me, that is like, that's top notch right there because that is really hard. You don't necessarily have time to put the content in because you're trying to get the positions for all of the props to work and make sure that everybody's comfortable with them. And I mean, you've done it. You've done umbrellas. You've done singing in the rain. Like props are hard.
Yeah.
The amount of effort you need to put into them is exponential. So that's why it's like, yeah, I agree. I agree where you're kind of coming from. But at the same time, when we look at it from that perspective, it was very cool
I still would have
and
given it
different.
a 10. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't get
Yep,
me wrong. I'm
yep,
not saying it didn't deserve 10s.
yep.
I was confused by the
It
29.
just wasn't your most memorable from the evening. I get it.
Correct.
Get it.
If that makes sense. I
It
love
does.
where I remember it just because I was like, oh, and like I liked how they started. Like I thought it was kind of cool how she started with the talking at the beginning.
Yeah, I
I
love
was like, it was
that.
that was a different twist too. And I felt like he made it to fit her.
Yes.
Again, was it the best dance technically? No. Um,
But the
but like
costumes, the confidence, it all just
and it
meshed very
all
well.
fit and like you couldn't help but love her. So
Yeah.
to me, like that was my number three one.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so like when we get to the ending of who won,
I mean, we already kind of mentioned it, but we got
right,
one
yeah.
minute left. So,
I
yeah.
was surprised by who won because to me they weren't the best freestyles at all.
Fair.
And but I also was not surprised by who was number two, but I wasn't
Yeah.
mad at who was number one
Yeah.
because
Definitely not.
technically and like over this season, he's a phenomenal
I
dancer.
mean, I called it.
Yeah, you
Listen, I
did.
called it. I said it. I said Joey was my vote, but I loved seeing Alona get second. I think that showed that's gonna shoot her confidence right through the roof. And it was a fantastic finale. So
Yeah.
forward to the next season whenever that happens.
Guys, and I convinced this one to go to the Dancing with the Stars show, and we have VIP. So we get to meet not only Steven, but Joey as well, because Joey's
Can't
coming to the
wait.
Buffalo show.
So excited. We'll be sure to